I have no idea truly why what I found was poetry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. It has something to do with the brevity of it, I think. And when I was in the war, it wasn't that I had time to sit down at my desk and write every evening, of course. So it was a little note here and there that I never thought of as anything other than keeping track of who I was and where I was and what was happening to me. I had dysentery once, and I was sent to the rear. I was laying in a bunk, recovering, and a Red Cross volunteer worker came with a box of books, sort of throwing them to people, and I caught one. I hadn't been much of a reader in high school. I wasted my high school. So I started reading this book. I couldn't pronounce the names. I had no idea what it was about, but something engaged me about the quality of voice. I had a sense for the first time ever reading a book of the author behind the work. And I had this wild idea that I wanted to do that somehow. Song of Napalm for my wife. After the storm, after the rain stopped pounding, we stood in the doorway watching horses walk off lazily across the pasture's hill. We stared through the black screen, our vision altered by the distance, so I thought I saw a mist kicked up around their hooves when they faded like cutout horses away from us. The grass was never more blue in that light, more scarlet. Beyond the pasture, trees scraped their voices into the wind. Branches crisscrossed the sky like barbed wire, but you said they were only branches. Okay. The storm stopped pounding. I'm trying to say this straight. For once, I was sane enough to pause and breathe outside my wild plans, and after the hard rain, I turned my back on the old curses. I believed they swung finally away from me. But still the branches are wire, and thunder is the pounding mortar, and still I close my eyes and see the girl running from her village, napalm stuck to her dress like jelly, her hands reaching for the no one who waits in waves of heat before her. So I can keep on living, so I can stay here beside you. I try to imagine she runs down the road and wings beat inside her until she rises above the stinking jungle, and her pain eases, and your pain, mine. But the lie swings back again. The lie works only as long as it takes to speak, and the girl runs only as far as the napalm allows until her burning tendons and crackling muscles draw her up into that final position burning bodies so perfectly assume. Nothing can change that. She is burned behind my eyes, and not your good love, and not the rain-swept air, and not the jungle green pasture unfolding before us can deny it.
It happens on a Monday at 11:20 a.m. as tower guards eat sandwiches and seagulls drift by on the Tigris River. Prisoners tilt their heads to the west, though burlap sacks and duct tape blind them. The sound reverberates down concertina coils the way piano wire thrums when given slack. And it happens like this on a blue day of sun, when Private Miller pulls the trigger to take brass and fire into his mouth. The sound lifts the birds up off the water. A mongoose pauses under the orange trees. And nothing can stop it now. No matter what blur of motion surrounds him, no matter what voices crackle over radio in static confusion, because if only for this moment the earth is stilled, and Private Miller has found what low hush there is down in the eucalyptus shade, there by the river. Here, Bullet. If a body is what you want, then here is bone and gristle and flesh. Here is the clavicle snapped wish, the aorta's open valves. The leap thought makes at the synaptic gap. Here is the adrenaline rush you crave, that inexorable flight, that insane puncture into heat and blood. And I dare you to finish where you've started, because here, Bullet, here is where I complete the word you bring hissing through the air. Here is where I moan the barrel's cold esophagus, triggering my tongue's explosives for the rifling I have inside of me. Each twist of the round spun deeper. Because here, Bullet, here is where the world ends every time. and we didn't talk about this before, but I folded that up. I put it in a Ziploc bag when I wrote it in Iraq, and I carried it in my chest pocket the rest of the time I was in country.